in this lesson, I'm going to show you how you can form your first simple sentence. And that is possible as we come to the conjugation of verbs. Verbs is a verb is a word used to describe an action, a state, or an occurrence. And verb plays a very vital role in the formation of sentences. In our last lesson, we talked about nouns. We are coming now to German verbs. And before we can move forward the conjugation, we have to talk about the personal pronoun. Interestingly, they are also in English. And then I want to show you the personal pronoun. We pronounce them, and then we move on to having examples of verbs, and then we conjugate. Don't forget the word, we conjugate the verbs. I go to the personal pronoun. The first one is ich, and I want you to pronounce with me. Ich. Du. Du. Sie. Es. Wir. Ihr. Sie. Sie. It's important to know how to pronounce them so that as we conjugate, it becomes easy for you to pronounce them with the verb. So these are the personal pronouns. In English, this is I. First person singular, second person singular, third person singular. We have sie, es. And these three, they form the third person singular. And is I, sie is she, and then the last one, s, is it. Then we have wir, which means we. Then we come to the next one, which is ihr, and this is actually the you, second person plural, you, and it's the former form. And then we have this one, z, which means they, and then the z, the first z with capital, written in capital S, that is the former you. We get to know it better as we go on. So these are the personal pronouns, and then we want to go now to the conjugation of the verbs. There is a basic fact about German conjugation. Every verb is composed of a stem and an ending. I give an example. A verb is made up of a stem plus ending. These two form the verb. What kind of verb? The original form, the infinitive, the original form of the verb. And before we go on, I want to say this, that German verbs can be divided into two. The first one is regular verb, regular in their conjugation. And then the second one is the irregular. So let that one be settled in your mind. And we're going to go in that order. We're going to start first with the regular, and then we'll go on to the irregular. Then I come back to the stem. Every verb, I repeat, every verb is composed of a stem and an ending. And I give an example here. Here is the original form of a verb. You pronounce it with me, kommen. Kommen. This is the original form. Here is the stem, and here is the ending. And if you want to conjugate, the question is, if you want to conjugate a verb, what do you need to do? Three things. Number one, as you know the original form of the verb already, we're going to use this one as an example. You write out the original form of the verb. I've written it out here, kommen. And number two, you take away, you replace the ending, this ending, we take away the ending, so I write it here again, kommen. This is the ending, this is the stem. So you take away the en, and then you had the personal ending to the stem. What do I mean by that? We have the come here, and we have the personal here as the personal pronoun, as we have talked about, and then we have given endings to each of the personal pronouns. So for the first one, which is ish, look at it. This is ish, come. Remember, I've taken away the en, and we had this ending, e. So we have e, and this one will be komme. Do, let me write the stem, and then I had the st. You can see here, and then the third person singular, the same stem will be written come, and then I had the t, and then for wir, the stem, and then I had the en, and then for ear, the same formula, come, and I had the t, and then for the last one, zz, I write the stem, and I write the en. So with what we have on the board, the verb kommen, which means to come, has been successfully conjugated in the present tense. So we have ich komme, du kommst, sie, es kommt, wir kommen, ihr kommt, sie kommen. So with that, we have conjugated the verb kommen. And this is interesting to know that so many verbs that belong to this category of regular verbs, into that group of regular verbs, and if you are able to conjugate kommen successfully by mastering these endings, e, st, t, en, t, and en for the last one, and you make sure you remember the personal pronoun that corresponds to each of the endings, you are already successful in conjugating a lot of the German verb. So using this example, remember I said at the beginning that we're going to start to form short sentences, simple sentences. I want to use this example, this verb, to conjugate some sentences. And now I will give you some examples of these sentences. We have some examples before. We didn't understand them then, but now we can easily locate them correctly. So the first one is, remember, this is ich komme. I told you the meaning of kommen is to come. So, and the meaning of ich, I. So simply put, I come. You come. He comes. He comes. It comes. And then we come. And then this is the second person plural. And then you come. And then the last one, they come. And then we have the former one with the capital S, which is the former form, sie oder sie kommen. Sie kommen. So with that, it is now easy to say, I come from Nigeria. If I want to say I come from Nigeria, I will just give you another new word that you can now use to say, I come from Nigeria. I will not rub off this. I want you to see the word, and then you just add it. Nigeria in German is pronounced the same way, Nigeria, yeah? Or if you like, Nigeria, okay? But German we say Nigeria. So we have this word, out. This is the new word that I want you to use to form this sentence. I come from Nigeria. Yes, can you just try? We know I, we know come, we know from, and then Nigeria. Okay, just try. That's okay. The correct answer is ich komme aus Nigeria. Ich komme aus Nigeria. Well, maybe you come from Ghana or you come from any other part of the world or many parts in Africa or Europe. Just do the same thing and put your country there. As we practice now, I will say where I come from, you will say where you come from. So 1, 2, go. Ich komme aus Nigeria. Okay, thank you. That's all right. So that is the first step. You have formed the first, your first sentence. Not only that, we can also say not only ich, you can say do, you can say you can use any of the personal pronouns to form the sentence of your interest. I want to give you another verb, and that verb is wohnen, and I will tell you how to conjugate it now. Of course, we know how to conjugate, we just do the exercise together now. As I said, the next verb we want to practice with is wohnen. Just pronounce it after me, wohnen, and it means to live. But then, before we conjugate the verb wohnen, I still want to give you some other sentences using some other countries as example. I can say, I have said it, ich komme aus Nigeria. Du kommst, remember the ST, du kommst aus Canada. Du kommst aus Canada. Canada, Canada. Du kommst aus Kanada. Kommt aus Japan. Kommt aus Japan. Just mentioning different countries. And the next one is, we can say, sie kommt aus England. Sie kommt aus England. Depending on where you come from. And we can say, es kommt, maybe the dog, whichever one. Es kommt aus Brasilien. Es kommt aus Brasilien oder aus Polen. Aus Polen. Maybe a given product, bag, shoes. Okay? Es kommt aus Polen. And then we have, wir kommen aus Australien. Wir kommen aus Australien. Okay, and then we can give one more example. Kommt aus Deutschland. 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 Okay, kommt aus Deutschland. And then ihr kommt aus Deutschland. And then the last one, sie kommen aus Frankreich. Let me write that up here. Sie kommen aus Frankreich. Okay, we start with the last one. Frankreich. Say it after me. Aus Frankreich. Sie kommen aus Frankreich. Okay, that is France. Canada, that's clear. Canada. Japan. Understand the pronunciation. Japan. Du kommst aus Japan. And then the next one, England. Kommt aus England. That one is also clear. From England. Wir kommen, oder es kommt aus Polen. Poland. And then the next one, ihr kommt aus Australien. Australia. And then the last one, sie kommen aus Deutschland. Okay, let's quickly go to the second verb, and then we use the same formula of conjugation. And what is that formula? Remember, every verb is made up of a stem and an ending. And now we have another verb, and the verb is wohnen. Can you say it after me? Wohnen. Wohnen. Let's identify the stem, and then we identify the ending. So the stem definitely is easier to identify the ending because it's en. So you cut off the en. So I'll just cut it off. And then we have the stem. So this stem, we bring it here. Ich wohne. Wo, and then I add the e, the ending e, and I have wohne. And then the do, the same stem comes down, du wo, and then I add the st, du wohnst. The third one, SZS, the same formula. You bring down the stem, and then you had the T. You're fine. And then the VIA, the same thing. Bring down the stem, and we had the EN. And then the same thing with ear. Bring down the stem, and we had the T. Bring down the stem, and then we have the T. And the last one, the same formula. Bring down the stem. Then we had the ending. So we have, you pronounce after me now. Ich wohne. Du wohnst. Er wohnt. Sie wohnt. Es wohnt. Wir wohnen. Ihr wohnt. Sie wohnen. The meaning of that is I live. You live. He lives. He lives. It lives. We live. And then you live. And then we have they live. And this Z, which is the formal form of you. So here we have another verb, regular verb, that has been successfully conjugated. With these two that we have conjugated, it becomes easy for you to take any regular verb and conjugate. Well, the question may be, how do I know it's a regular verb, and if it's a regular verb or it's not a regular verb? The exercises will guide you as you go through the exercises that we have in your study material. And with this, we need to form some sentences, and the only thing you need in forming sentences after you have successfully conjugated like this, especially for this verb, I want to say I live, and I mention the place I live. Where do you live? Where do I live? And the answer is ich wohne, and I write where I live. You can also do the exercises over there. You write where you live, or you need this particular word in. You mention where you live. Ich wohne in, and you mention the town where you live. Ich wohne in Berlin. Ich wohne in Berlin. That's I live in Berlin. And then you can also say ich wohne in, and you mention the name of the town where you live. Ich wohne in Berlin. Ich wohne in Ile-Ife. Ich wohne in Ile-Ife. Ich wohne in Ile-Ife. I live in Ile-Ife. Wohnt in Amsterdam. Just mention any town. Once you have the preposition, can form any verb. You can form more sentences saying where you live.